Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre.
I'm exceptional, thank you. How are you today?
I'm so good.
Blocks to bold, brass to gold, better to best. We all get caught in mental mazes, believing that we have to live the way others see us, or being taught to think things through. Dr. Kyre is an agent of change using Geotran human programming and activations to quickly and easily release people from the automatic patterns and inner glitches that block their healthy, wealthy, happy life. Instead of going where our innate circuitry takes us. Being in alignment with you is the best way to create your best life. Are you ready to be your best self? Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre. Welcome to the show.
Hello, bonjour. My name is Dr. Kyre Adept, and I am so thrilled to be here speaking to you today about how to be your best you. Let me introduce myself. Obviously I'm Dr. Kyre Adept, and I am speaking to you from the US. I was brought up in the US, but I spend half of my time now in central France. I originally trained as an architect, and that has given me such an appreciation for the way things are put together. Do you see the structure of things? And 25 years ago, I found that I was actually kind of bored being an architect. I wanted to find the thing that I could be as passionate about as I could see the architects around me being. So here I am now, 26 years later, as a Geotran practitioner, as a coach, as an activations expert, and as a person who can get you back to being who you are actually designed to be. So, of course, the question is, why would that be important? I'm so glad you asked. In my world, we say that everybody comes into this lifetime with a divine blueprint. Yeah? So that's something that you agreed between you and spirit, or you and God, depending on what your theology is. This is not about theology. And that blueprint already has loaded all of the programs that you might need to be you and to fulfill your genius and your purpose right here on this planet at this time. Again, in my world, we say that you chose to be here at this time, to take your place in the circle, to do certain things that you are uniquely the one to accomplish. We also say that the child chooses the parents. So guess what? You chose to come into that family, no matter how interesting and easy or difficult and challenging or painful that may have been for you. That was all to give you an opportunity to develop certain character traits or life experiences that would help you in what you are to do now. So being yourself is being an individual is really the most important work that you can undertake in a given lifetime. Yeah? And this is something that, especially as women, we're kind of trained not to. We are surrounded by family, obviously. We are surrounded by religion, we're social conditioning, all sorts of challenging aspects. And these persons and places and groups, they want us to be something. Yes, they are projecting at us their expectation that we should be this rather than that. As women, for instance, we're sort of expected to be modest. We're expected to be selfless. Yes. I'm sorry to tell you, but we do still live in a patriarchy, and That's what we're taught to be as women. We're basically considered not fully human. And I could talk about that for a long time, but I'm not going to, because we're going to move on to more interesting topics about getting you to be you instead. So, what would it feel like in your life if you could jump out of the box of expectations? So these expectations from other people always put us in a box. And the upshot of being in a box instead of your true expanded self is always going to be mediocrity. Now, what I'm interested in is excellence. I'm interested in people experiencing and embodying that spirit of excellence that you actually are, I was going to say programmed with. That's maybe not the right word, because when we talk about people being programmed, we think of either cults or we think about people being, androids or robots. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what you are innately set up to do, be, and have. And if you chose that, which again, in my world, we would say that you did, then your life is going to be so much easier. If you go with the what's the word I'm looking for? The grain, yes? If you're pine, be pine. If you're rosewood, be rosewood. They have different functions, and nobody can take your place in the circle. That you are here to do something for which you are the unique embodiment of those divine characteristics. So it's very much easier if you actually know what your divine blueprint is and know how to get back into alignment with it. Do you see? So, for instance, part of what I learned back 25 years ago was that every human being kind of acts like a computer. Well, actually, it's a set of 4 computers. And each of these computers controls or limits a different aspect of your life. So, for example, we always start with the light computer because that controls the physical, the sensory aspects of your life. So how much money you're going to make, what kind of house you're going to live in, where you're going to live. All of those things that are happening in what some people call the 3-dimensional world, have a limit placed on them by what's going on in that light computer. So what if we could remove that limit? Yes, what if we could actually allow you, take off the limits and allow you to be who you truly are in a very much more expanded way? So getting back just to the introductory part. So I decided to turn away from architecture because I found that I wasn't passionate about it, that 90% of my time was spent on the computer. And I have nothing against computers, but that's not really what I trained for. And it's important to me, in human design terms, to be enjoying what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So I sublet my apartment. I popped in my car. I went on a fairly extended road trip. I ended up in Arizona. I ended up meeting Dorothy Espio, who's the creator of Geotran. And she invited me to a free introduction, very similar to what I am talking to you about now, to lay out the groundwork of how we humans function on an energy level. And she said something that has stayed with me to this day. She said, if you're having money problems, if you're not able to create or attract or receive enough money or as much as you want, if you have health problems, if you have family issues, or if you are going out with the same person over and over again, just different people, having the same relationship over and over again, just with different people, then these are programming issues. Now, I grew up in a family of computer programmers. My father met my stepmother at IBM in the late 50s. So when she said these are programming issues, that totally lit me up, because I know that if it's a programming issue, it can be fixed. It can be fixed using programming tools. And this is the language that I speak. And she proceeded to show us. She was demonstrating.
Exceptional, thank you. How are you today?
Exactly what it was that person's computer was limiting her for in terms of prosperity. This person could receive up to $2,307 per month exactly. Could not receive more. Didn't matter what she was doing for work, didn't matter what her investments were doing, whatever. If more came her way, she would find a way to dissipate it. And then she showed us how to fix it. Well, you can imagine how interesting that was to me as someone with a computer background. It's like, oh, we can actually do that? Yes, we actually can. So I stayed for 3 years and I worked in her office and I went to every class that she taught, and I still go to the 4 big conferences per year and the teleconferences and what have you, because I like to stay right on the leading edge. Now, for me, as a person who really enjoys understanding the components and the details of how something works, is terribly, terribly left-brained at that time. This was just fascinating. I just wanted to learn more. And then, of course, I started applying it. Yeah, first on myself, naturally enough, and then, other people, clients, they started coming to me. And it's just, to me, it's so exciting to watch somebody light up as they realize that they have permission to be who they are. So if you have those sort of little dreams in the back of your mind that you've sort of been told you're not allowed to have, you've been told in religious terms or culturally or socially, in social terms, or it's just not what people in your family do, or maybe you have a spouse or a partner who does not catch the same vision that you have. Can you picture the difference in your life if you actually allowed yourself to step forward into that? I have had clients who've been kind enough to write to me and say, oh my word, I didn't know that I could do this. I didn't know I could feel like this. My family relationships are better. I'm receiving money from all sorts of different directions, really unusual directions. I've just resigned from the work that I have not been enjoying and immediately got offered a similar position, but in a much better company with more money. It's like, it's letting people grow into who they're actually designed to be. And for me, this is very exciting. Now, obviously, for someone else, for if you are interested in doing this, then you need to get in touch with me and we'll see what we can do together. And that would be a lot of fun. You'd be amazed at the change we can make just in half an hour. Most people come to me because either they have a health condition that they just don't understand where it's coming from or what to do about it. They've tried everything on the medical line. I'm not a medical doctor. I have a doctorate in esoteric studies. But I can work in the soul level to find out the cause. And once we remove the cause, it's like pulling up the dandelion by its roots. Yeah, the leaves and the flowers will take care of themselves, or with a minimal amount of symptomatic treatment, the condition will go away. But if we don't get the cause, and this is equally true in the areas of health, wealth, relationships, self-expression, if you don't get the cause of the block, then it's going to come back. It's going to come back with different symptoms, but it's going to come back. So in a moment, I'm going to start telling you how the human system works so that you can see how these different tools can be applied to allow you to be your best you. A great question here. Can you help me recognize if I need help? Oh, yeah. That's my genius. That's my genius, is I can look in the field, and I use a lot of muscle testing. So if any of you have ever gone to any of my own master classes, for instance, which are in my Facebook group, then you'll see how we use muscle testing as a diagnostic tool, because your body intelligence will tell us very clearly if something that you're running is helping you or hurting you, is allowing you to expand, is correct for you, or is switching off your system. So it's actually really easy, and it doesn't just depend on what I can hear in the field. Oh, because I started out being not intuitive at all, but I learned how to be intuitive, and which is extremely cool because I know I can teach you how to be intuitive if that's something that interests you. But yes, I can definitely help you recognize that. So let's bring up that graphic which shows the pyramids. And I will teach you a little bit about how the human being works. Okay, that is the human design. Okay, this is another way of showing how the human being works. Because one of the things that I have also learned in the last 10 years is about human design. Now, human design and Geotran have tremendous overlap because they're both looking at the circuitry in your system. And a human design chart, this happens to be mine, will show you where the energy flows easily, and so the talents and traits associated with that, and where it does not. So obviously the white parts of this human design chart that you see here are the parts where it does not flow as well. But this is not a disadvantage. This is actually a place where a person like myself can hold space for you, because this is a place of wisdom, a place of learning, where it's white. Whereas where it's colored, so for me, it's from the top, ajna, throat, sacral, root. That's where I do have the energy and I do have the genius. And so that sacral part is the part that makes me really, really, really good at muscle testing, for instance. Whereas the top two, the ajna, is all about structures, not ideas, but structures, how things fit together. So, hello, former architect here, wonderful chef. I mean, being a chef is all about knowing how the parts go together in new ways. And then the throat is about expression. So here I am talking to you about the parts that flow easily for me and holding the space for the parts that are not lit up. But I'd really like to show you this pyramids. Thank you so much. So this is like a human being, okay? This is a pyramid. This is not just a triangle, if you see what I mean. Okay, now the slowest vibration is the physical, right? And we know that we can feel, touch, taste, sense everything that's going on in the physical. That's why I say it also has to do, for example, with money, with health, with the things that our physical bodies are involved in. Now, the higher frequency or vibration than that is the soul level. Now, the soul level is your psyche. Now, I know people in our line of work talk about the soul as if it's the eternal part of you. It's not. Yeah? The soul level is what you think, feel, believe, and desire. Now, most people, as you see in this little graphic, most people are totally choked up in the soul level. And this is often 80% of the time what's choking you up at the soul level in what you think, feel, believe, and desire are these projections or toxic memories, toxic beliefs, toxic experiences from other people. Now, and if you're an empath, you get even more of that stuff because you have thin boundaries, but that's a different question. Now, here's the cool part about recognizing that 80% is coming from other people, is that those are even easier to clear once you realize it's not you, because they are programs and thoughts and beliefs and desires that do not belong in your computer anyway, that you are not set up to run. It's like trying to run a PC file in a Mac computer, or of course the other way around. I'm a Mac gal myself, so either way, you can't run the file, or you get a jumble, or it's just not going to work, right? So what we're doing in Geotran, for the most part, is clearing out those imprints. Because how we are designed to work is that your spirit, now that's the top bitty, that is the eternal part of you, right? That spirit is already redeemed. You don't need to be messing with that spirit. That spirit's just fine. And that spirit is speaking to or listening to the overall spirit, the Holy Spirit, if you like. Yeah. And it is attempting to tell you what to think, feel, believe, and desire. And then what's going on in the soul level will come into form in the physical. So what you think, feel, believe, and desire is creating or attracting or attracted to those physical conditions. Do you see? So if we can clean up the soul level, then it becomes possible for what's your spirit is saying to you to come into that soul level, rearrange everything, clean it up, and then that's going to create or attract or be attracted to the things that really work for you in the physical. Now, it so happens, and we could have the next slide, that would be wonderful. It so happens that you also have a point down pyramid, which is your God self, right? And really, we are designed so that we're taking direction from that God self down to the spirit, down to the soul, down to the physical. Oh, we got a great question. What are those boxes and circles in the soul? Those are just graphics of imprints, projections, toxic memories. They're the things that we're clearing out. I mean, I had to. There's no way to actually describe that. So we just had to find a graphic that would just show you we're all choked up there. Okay, it's not significant that it's boxes or circles or whatever. Okay, so here we have. Thank you so much. This is the way the pyramids interact. Right now, at the moment in the field, in the overall field for everybody in the human race, what's really where the action is taking place is in the God physical. Okay, the God physical includes your immortal soul and your divine spark and your God particle and your wilderness. There's 6 things up there. And, you know, if details interest you as much as they interest me, contact me and I'll take you right through it. But in the meantime, what I want you to see is that the God physical is where our inspiration starts. And it especially starts with an unanswered question. Right? So an unanswered question could be, what do I need to do to have a certain income? Yeah. Your computers will start churning through the ideas, kind of like this new chat GPT thing. You know, you put in a question and it gives you a whole data dump. And then that goes through the God soul. Yeah, so that's the will of God, the heart of God, the mind of God. Right? And then that goes into the Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit promise, Holy Ghost promise. Now, this is basically how it turns up in a Christian, from a Christian perspective. But you do not have to be Christian. You don't have to be anything religious to take advantage of this organizing principle. Yeah. Now, in the Christian context, Jesus Christ is what enables that information and that energy of the Holy Spirit to make the jump into your spirit, your eternal spirit. And then that is going to inform your psyche, your psychology, your soul, and then that's going to create the physical realm for you. Okay, so we could take that down, if you would, please. So when everything is together, when the point up pyramid and the point down pyramid, when the point up pyramid and the point down pyramid are absolutely in alignment, then they slide together. And I'm sure that mentally you can see that that would give you the symbol of the Star of David. That's what the Star of David is about. That's when you are walking around as your best self, when you are being a little bread roll from the loaf of bread that is God or spirit or the divine or whatever word you want to use, walking around on this planet and doing the things that you are absolutely here to know and be and do and have. So that's our sort of basis of what we do in Geotrend, and also with the other techniques and methods that I use, including human design, including activations, including intuition, including muscle testing. The whole point here is just to clean up your system, to release, to clear what is not you, which can include misunderstandings that you have developed from unfortunate circumstances and traumas in your past. You may have misfiled something. You may have come to a belief that you are not enough. For example, to take an example that is extremely common among women, is that you're not enough. You're not lovable enough. You're not kind enough. You're not intelligent enough. You're not powerful enough. Just, you're not enough. I don't know. Very common. So we're clearing those. Then we're taking a look at your inner computers, at your divine blueprint, and we're saying, okay, here, this is you, this part is not you. So we're going to reset the things that are you. Yeah, so we clear, we reset. And then we bring in some extremely cool processes to actually amplify. So you come in with your existing programming, if you want to call it programming, patterns, programs, and then we can amplify them. We can polish them up. We can shine some more light in there. We can just activate the higher possibilities for you. We can expand those possibilities and your own potential in a really great way. Okay, we've got a great question here. Is this why marriages fail? That is one reason amongst others, yes. And I would say the primary reason is that people don't actually marry. Firstly, people aren't being truly themselves. And they're going into a marriage being, let's say, I'm just pulling a number out of the air, 50% who they really are. They're marrying someone who's being 50% of who they really are. Yeah. And they are firstly immediately afflicted by the marriage archetype. The marriage archetype comes in and says things like, if it's a man and a woman we're marrying, the man has to be the provider and protector, and the woman has to be the homemaker. The woman is not allowed to make more money than the man. The woman will not leave the house without letting people know when she's going to be back. The woman will not buy large objects, even if it's like a washing machine, without consultation. You notice that these don't apply to the man. Yeah, I'm talking about a social archetype, a mass thought form about what marriages are supposed to be like. Yeah. So for the most part, that it doesn't really work terribly well. And I'm not saying that marriages cannot work well. Obviously, I know some who do, and I love that. And I actually really admire people who get married. I think that's terrific. It's an optimistic commitment. I love it. But it's going to bring up in oneself and trigger in the other person all the emotional trauma, all the glitches, all the nonsense. And it's going to amplify them because you have a synergistic creation when you have a marriage. And furthermore, there's something called incorrect soul ties. Yeah, you're supposed to have a soul tie with divine, whatever your version of the divine is, and you may have a correct soul tie with a close friend that you trust, a religious group, possibly with your parents or your children, maybe not. However, any soul tie is going to allow the other person's access to your inner computers, as if they're like a workstation in your local area network. And they are demons. And all I'm saying about demons is that they are just incorrect spirits, like the spirit of hatred, the spirit of envy, the spirit of disappointment, the spirit of whatever, are able to walk in and mess with your programs, with your data, with your power source, with your whatever. And furthermore, this is the really fun part. Let's say you have an incorrect soul tie with someone, which could be your spouse. Yeah. And let's say that person also has incorrect soul ties, because we all do. We really do. So, here's Henry, who perhaps you're married to or not. And Henry has, a dozen soul ties with other people, men and women. It's not a gender-based thing. That third party's demons or incorrect spirits are able to walk through Henry and get into your field. Do you see how this works? So, interesting question. This sounds like generational curses. That's also how generational curses work. Yes. Yes. There are more than one kind of DNA. So that's another thing that we look for in the work, that when I'm working with people, is, have you got anything coming through you that is creating a glitch in your inner computers? Because if so, we can find it and we can get rid of it. So you get to use your computers properly, because a lot of these act like computer viruses, and we're very conscious of viruses now because of the whole COVID thing. And people pick up computer viruses by basically hanging around with the wrong energies for them. And, it's not a personal thing necessarily. So, but we do know that there are only three results that you can have when you pick up a computer virus from wherever you picked it up from. And one is, you're going to run a program you don't want to be running. Another is, if you have a strong immune system, either physically or psychologically, you can get around it, but you're still using up system resources. And the third possible result is that your computer crashes. And that's where we tend to find these mystery illnesses. Yes, people, and think of the increase in mystery illnesses in the last 20 to 50 years. It's like, nobody knew anything about chronic fatigue or any of those sorts of things before 50 years ago. And that's because they are actually new conditions. So we want to clear those computer viruses, whether they're coming in from soul ties, genetic line contaminations, just from the people that you hang out with, up to and including Facebook. It's really important for you to be more aware of where the energies around you take you. Yeah, because you probably want to correct those. Okay, so here's a question. Why does my child fail math when I have a degree in math? Well, what do you having a degree in math have to do with your child's math ability? I mean, that kind of assumes that the kids aren't individuals. I mean, it so happens my father was a mathematician, so I get it. Now, I'm actually very good at math, but my siblings are not. To have a genetic line condition does not necessarily mean that everyone in the genetic line is going to pick it up. And the genetic line conditions that I work with are more along the lines of loss, lack, failure, trauma, hatred, character traits, more than abilities, talents, as such. But that's only my experience. Yours could easily be different. That's why we're all individuals. So, getting back to my point, and I do have one, it's that the more we can get you to be you, the more we can clean out those inner computers, the more we can activate, potential in you, the more we can get you back into alignment with what you are designed to be, the easier your life is going to be, the more potential you can actually explore. And just on a concrete level, on that physical level, tangible level, better health, more money coming in, the ability to create what you're here to create. And of course, better relationships, because you're going to be relating to people as you, rather than as this conglomeration of computer glitches and projections that really have very little to do with you. So you see how this might actually be beneficial to you. And of course, what you're clearing for you, just to get back to that genetic line thing for a minute, In my world, we believe that what you clear, especially if it's about genetic lines, but not exclusively, will actually clear for 7 generations in each direction. So what you clear for you clears for your kids and your grandkids, but also for your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, 7 generations. I mean, heck, it's worth doing the work just for that, I think. But obviously that would be my view. So getting back to what it is, why it's important to be the best you. The place where we are most affected is in the soul level, but the soul level is what is creating or attracting the physical level. And this is both good news and bad news. Okay, by the time the problems have got to your frequency or vibration for long enough that they are in the soul level, that they are in the physical, then you've probably developed a habit. You've certainly developed like a channel in the energy planes that is easy, that's like a default for you. So, for example, if someone has a physical problem, and again, I have to give the disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor, but I know a lot about how the soul level and the physical connect. Let's say someone has developed a serious illness. Well, we would normally be looking at what's happened a year before. It takes about a year for a trauma or a problem, an issue, to get through into the physical from the soul level. So that's, in a sense, the bad news. Is like there's a lot of momentum behind it by then. But the good news is we can change it in the soul level as quickly as you can change your mind, as quickly as you change your feelings. We can go into that soul level and move it. Okay? So I worked with people who had to go and have a biopsy. I'm thinking one person in particular, a gal that her shop was near my office, and I happened to be in her shop one day, and I said, you look a little concerned. Are you okay? Well, she says, well, I'm going in for this biopsy on Monday. This was a Friday. I said, look, I would love to have a look at this. And if we can clear it, great. Just as a friend thing. So she came up to my office and we spent an hour or two, and she went in, and the next time I saw her was after the biopsy. It had been analyzed and no problem. There was no issue. No issue. You can imagine her relief. Yeah, and obviously it was very pleasurable for both of us. Another time, about that same time, this was about 20 years ago, a client of mine said, I've got this teacher in dream interpretation or something intuitive. I had never met the other gal. And she said, and she's got a really, really bad case of chronic fatigue, and we don't know where it's come from. We don't know what it's about, but I'm really, really afraid that she's on her way out. Can I pay for you to treat her? And I said, of course, if she agrees, obviously, because I only work with people that it checks for me to work with, right? And what I mean is I'll actually muscle test, and I say, is it obedient? Is it in alignment with my divine blueprint? Is it in alignment with your divine blueprint to work with me at this time? Right? Because there's nothing more important than being in alignment. And those are those two pyramids I showed you earlier, and them going together, got to be in alignment. And what takes us out of alignment is our natural desire to give, help, serve, teach, and allow. But we've got to do it with the right people at the right time in the right way. Otherwise, we get off balance. And any of you empaths out there, you know what I'm talking about here. Anyway, to get back to this client. So I saw her twice in the course of a week. And She seemed much better. She checked. It's 100% restored to herself. And I was so thrilled. She came to see me, 2-3 weeks after the second session. And she said, I've always had this dream of going to Hawaii, to going and living in Hawaii. I said, oh, great. That sounds like a terrific dream. She says, and I'm leaving in 2 weeks. She says, 3 weeks ago, I really did not think that I was going to live past another month or two. So if no one else ever says this to you again, you saved my life. And, of course, I was very honored and happy, felt appreciated that we could work together and have such a great result. But my point is this: when we talk about, are you being the best you? Not everybody immediately gets why this is so important. Well, there's an example. All we did was restore her to being who she was. And a big part of that, in my experience, is to go back along the timeline and fix whatever's going on back then. Remember I said that 80% of what I clear is from other people? Well, 80% of it is also from before the age of 5 or 10. Yeah, so the time when you have no boundaries. And maybe you're in the next room and your parents are arguing, and maybe they're arguing about money, just as an example out of the blue. And you, as an adult, you know that this had nothing to do with you. But as a 5-year-old, you think everything has to do with you. I mean, my parents divorced when I was 3, and my teacher pointed out to me after I'd been working with her for about 10 years. She said, I think you're still processing both sides of your parents' divorce. So we had to go back to when I was 3, fix it there. Now, what does that mean? So glad you asked. It means that at the soul level, you don't know the difference between imagination, experience, intention, projection. You just don't know. As far as your inner computers are concerned, those are just files. They're just files. So we can go back and change those files, and we can change the interpretation of those files. Do you see? So what I often do when somebody has some traumatic experience from, say, less than 10 years old, is I'll say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in you as an adult. And you are going to go and talk to that kid. And you're going to take them out for ice cream or whatever their treat of choice may be. A walk, ice cream, chocolate. I'm a chocolate person. And you are going to explain to them that it's not about them, and that they are 100% loved and supported in being who they are. The kind of message that all of us would have liked to have got about the time we were 10, say, or at least in my family. We get to create a favorite aunt who comes and rescues us when there's some challenging experience happening or about to happen, because your system doesn't know the difference. Do you see how that would work? And then think of the weight off your shoulders. You're not going to be triggered by that anymore. You're not going to bring that into your relationships. If it's about money, it's like, oh, wait a minute, here's a treasury of unlimited supply. Okay, what do we need to integrate? What do we need to activate so that you can actually just go in there and create the income that you desire? And it doesn't have to be income either, remember. I mean, one of the first things I check with people is how many different directions can spirit send you money from unlimited supply? And it's usually about 20. And then I ask, and how many are you actually receiving from? And it's usually about 4. So part of this is just opening that soul to the concepts and choices that you actually have once you're you. Because I think that's really the core here. Now that I'm just thinking about it right now as I'm speaking to you, is that when we're in the box of somebody else's expectations, our choices are very limited. So if we want to open up those choices in line with our actual potential, then we need to get out of that box of expectations. We need to be who we are, whatever that looks like, in all of our glorious, messy quirkiness. We get to be who we are. Now, just sit with that for a minute. How does that feel? Yes, you can have your dreams, especially if they're your dreams, not somebody else's dreams for you. Huh? Yes, you get to be actually who you are. Yes, you get to do the things that light you up. Yes, you get to make that a priority. Again, as women in this culture, we tend to be taught and then develop a habit around believing that if we want something for ourselves, we're being selfish. Well, yeah, but of course you're going to want the things that you want for yourself. I mean, you really need to be you because everybody else is taken. Everybody else has their own part to play. But how can you be here doing what you are inspired to do, what lights you up, if you can't be yourself? Yeah? I mean, think about the people that you may love them to pieces, but you can't actually tell them the truth. You can't tell them the truth about you. You can't, and therefore can't tell them the truth about them. I mean, you want to talk about why marriages fall apart. I mean, that's a big one right there. Because, again, in my world, the glory of God is intelligence, and intelligence is truth and light. Yeah? So we need to get some more light in there and shine it on the truth of you. The data that is your truth. You are a library. We need to get you reading those books with the right light. Yeah? And tossing out the books that are not for you. They may be right for somebody else, but not for you. And it just makes your life lighter. Yeah? In that respect, Geotran, this is the main technique that I use, created by Dorothy Espio. She said, this is the language of all possibilities. If you only see one possibility, then you are not in choice. And what I love to do is to get you back to choice. I mean, I certainly can't imagine how different my life would have been if I had not found Geotran and then, human design and then activations, which is my own particular technique. I'm in a completely different place in my own life and in my own feelings, my feelings about myself and about my connection with everybody around me than I would have been if I did come out of architecture school at the age of 35. I went in late. And I expected to be an architect for the rest of my life. And I did come along this moment when I thought, this is not what I am passionate about. This is not how I want to spend my life. Basically, on the computer, looking at lists of things, specifications, and what have you. There's nothing wrong with that work. It's totally fine. It's not what I spent 6 years training to do. And I realized as I found out how to clear these parts of myself, and of course working with my colleagues and with my teacher on me, as well as working on clients, we said, it's so much better. It's so much better. It's so much happier. We really are designed to have a happy life. Sometimes we just have to wade through quite a bit in order to get there. And what I find is the most challenging, and it may be because of how I grew up. I grew up in a very intellectual atmosphere. My mother was a teacher. My dad's a mathematician. My stepmother is a computer programmer who ran her own data processing firm. So at least I had a model of a very successful woman, but they're all very mentally based. And what I notice when I work with people is that we, by default, our society encourages us to fall back on this idea that we have to think things through, that we have to make decisions logically and rationally. I mean, you want to talk about how marriages don't work. My best friend, who I've known for 47 years, God bless him, he's a physics professor. He doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Of course, I don't understand what he's talking about either. But his objection to what I do is that it's not rational. But guess what? We're not rational. But we can be ourselves. We can learn how to be ourselves instead of overriding that wonderful, divine, feminine knowing with this rational left brain, got to do it this way. There's one way to do it. There's one right way to do it. And it's in a smooth process here, 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 here. I mean, come on. Look at it. Look at your lives, gals. Is that ever how your life has worked out? Have you ever seen the cartoon that says, here's my picture of my progress, and here's what happens in real life? And if we're really, really blessed, we'll still end up in the place that God had in mind for us, but maybe not. It's not about making rational decisions. It's about being you, your dreams, your desires. Desire is our soul and our spirit saying to us, no, not that one. No, not that one over there. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Go focus on that one, because what you focus on is what you get more of. And this is true positively and negatively. Yeah. If you want to be successful for any given definition of success, go hang out with successful people, because that's what they're focusing on. If you want to have a happy married life or relationship life, yeah, go listen to and look at, watch romantic comedies, for heaven's sake, because that'll get you in the frequency or vibration that ends up with a happy relationship. Plus, of course, you work with somebody like me and take out all those blocks that have been pushing you over in this direction all this time, when really you want to be going over in this direction. Yeah. But a lot of it is about recognizing our desires and then asking the really good question, which is, how can I do that? Do not ask why questions. Why questions just set a subconscious pattern going, the subconscious creation, and it's for something you don't want. Yeah, why? If you ask your laptop, I'm sitting in front of my laptop right now. If I were to say, why are you doing this? It would go round and round and round and round and round, trying to find an answer. And so finally it would either say, why not? Or it would just crash. Right? Well, our computers are like that too. No why questions. But a great question is, what do I need to know now? What's my next step? What do you, spirit, the field, want me to do? When I left Arizona after 3 years with Dorothy, by then I knew how to ask. I said, where do you want me to go? And I kept hearing California. And I kept saying, what? I assumed I'd be going back to Europe or the East Coast at least. No, they wanted me to go to California. So I went to California for 18 years, and it was a very interesting experience. But because I was open to the possibility. You see, if you don't see that there are choices, if you have a very tight, narrow focus, then you won't understand that you can do something different and something that might actually put you into better alignment with who you are. So that's where I'm coming from. My job is to help you be you, because, and the what I get out of it is I'm using my genius, and I love seeing you light up. So I mainly work with women between 40 and 60, who often it's like empty nesters, or people who, pretty much raise their kids and they know that there's something more for them and they just don't know how to find it. So the people come to me saying, I'm stuck here and I don't understand why, or I'm not even really sure what my purpose, my genius is. And they say to me, you talk about divine blueprints. Well, where do I find that? And is it possible to change it? And the answer to both of those is it is definitely possible to find it. It's definitely possible to align with it. And it's even possible to change it if you choose. So ultimately, it's all about choice. So if this attracts you, my contact information is right there at the bottom of the screen. And I as you can see, I can talk about this for hours on end with absolutely no preparation because this is my genius and my joy. And I would so love to introduce you to yours, and help you uncover how to align with you, how to create your healthy life, how to bring in more money if that's what you're wanting to do, how to create success in your business. Because that your business is a reflection of who you are, and how to just be happy in your relationships, be happy in your work. This is, as Edwin Gaines says, this is the party planet. So let's go out there and enjoy it. So if that attracts you, you can see where to get in touch with me. And I host this weekly television program where I'm going to be talking to other people who are just very intent on being who they are at the highest level that's available to them, and teaching other people to do the same. So that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to love and support each other, starting with the self, starting with you. What's that feel like? Anyway, I so much appreciate you coming and listening today. And obviously, thank you for watching. And we'll see you next week, I hope. And do bring your friends. Let's get a whole bunch of us just being who we are and having this major impact on the world and being happy.
Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre.
I'm exceptional, thank you. How are you today?
I'm so good.
Blocks to bold, brass to gold, better to best. We all get caught in mental mazes, believing that we have to live the way others see us, or being taught to think things through. Dr. Kyre is an agent of change using Geotran human programming and activations to quickly and easily release people from the automatic patterns and inner glitches that block their healthy, wealthy, happy life. Instead of going where our innate circuitry takes us. Being in alignment with you is the best way to create your best life. Are you ready to be your best self? Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre. Welcome to the show.